I just simply want to say Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Welcome back to the Chef Boy RDN podcast with your host, the Chef Boy RDN. And today we're going over everything Black for Juneteenth. And I have my special co host with me today. I thought this person would be very perfect for the job because she is a leading Black attorney in the Delta, actually, one of the few Black female attorneys in the Delta, period. She also just has a heart for the community. She helps in so many different ways. She's always giving back, working at different clinics, out of her way on the weekends, weeknights, helping the community. How do I know this? Because she is also my wife of 9 years. So she's been practicing law as an attorney for about 8. And without further ado, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are.
Yeah, so like Chef Boy RDN said, I am one of the few Black female attorneys here in the Delta region. The Delta is simply the cross or intersection of Mississippi, Arkansas, and Tennessee. Literally, the Mississippi Delta runs through and touches all 3 states. And so I am licensed in both Tennessee and Arkansas. And a large portion of my legal career thus far was spent in rural Arkansas.
I bet that was fun.
Yes, it was fun. I have since very recently transitioned into a different sector. I am now a Social Security disability attorney, but
Love that.
yes, it's great. But I still am helping the people. That is my passion. That is my heart project. Helping people with insecurities, whether it's food insecurities, health insecurities, access to healthcare issues, housing instability. I try to help them maintain those things, overcome those things, and have access to different public benefits for them to sustain better lives.
This is all amazing stuff, and that is why I got you here today, because today we're going to talk, as I said earlier, all things Black. So we're going to talk about Black healthcare. We're going to give some statistics for that. We're also going to talk about food insecurity. We're going to talk about foods that we historically eat as Black people and what the health benefits of those are. We're also, of course, going to do Chef Boy RDN Tries It, all here on the Chef Boy RDN podcast. So stick around. You don't want to go anywhere. Before we get into anything, of course, today's episode is coming out on Juneteenth. So I wanted to kind of start there. So one of the other things that my wife has done is taught American history. Professor, I mean, she does everything. And so, so I want her to tell us a little bit about Juneteenth.
Yeah, so a lot of people know that June 19th, actually June 19th, 1865 to be exact, was the official day that slavery was announced to all states, specifically Texas. Texas was the last state to be emancipated, essentially, because the enslaved people there, they were not informed, or they were kept kind of in the dark about the end of slavery. So the Emancipation Proclamation was signed 1863. And everybody knows good old Uncle Abe. He was the one
Shout out to him
who signed it. And I taught a whole week on Abraham Lincoln because he's my second favorite president. It's a true story. My first favorite president is not Barack Obama. It is George Washington. And but this is not a history class. But Barack is top 3. He is clearly number 3. Shout out to Barack. Joe, fourth. So, Emancipation Proclamation signed 1863. It's not until June 19th of 1865 that General Gordon Granger, who was a Union general, went to Texas, specifically Galveston, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and he informed all the enslaved people that they are now free. And for many, many years, Black communities in Texas celebrated June 19th because to them, they understood that is the day of their liberation.
Right.
And it wasn't until 2021 that Juneteenth became a federal holiday. Shout outs to my fourth favorite president, Joe Biden. So that is some quick facts about June 19th.
You know what's always crazy to me? A couple things. One, my fifth grade teacher, when we would get into history, she would always say, oh my God, I think I'm getting old. This was actually my 10th grade teacher. How did I skip 5 years? I don't know.
Wow.
But she was a history teacher, and she would always talk about how basically the emancipation didn't free the slaves. The slaves freed themselves, meaning that even though that declaration went out, and of course, obviously, it helped to free the slaves, in a lot of places, they literally had to still fight for their own freedom. And so it's crazy to me that it took a whole 2 years post the Emancipation Proclamation for that last city and that last remaining state to understand that they were actually free.
Yeah. You have to think about it. Black people weren't allowed to read, so these papers were probably going out. Slave masters probably hiding it from
That's
them.
what I was about to, that's really the crazy thing, because you realize these people probably knew.
Oh yeah.
For sure they knew.
It was their money, though.
You know? So messed up.
Tried to hold on to that economy's power.
For sure. So the interesting thing about that, though, is we have seen that disparity kind of trickle down into life even today. One of the biggest ways that we see it is in food insecurities. I first started learning about food insecurities when I went back to school to become a dietitian. So this was, 7 years ago. And that was kind of my first time even hearing the word. But I know as an attorney, you worked a lot with food insecurity. And when I became a dietitian, I got to work a lot, especially when I worked at a children's hospital with food insecurity. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Excuse me. Allergies. So a little bit about food insecurities and what I witnessed during my time working in the Delta. So a large portion of my job was also focused on food stamps. And whether people were trying to get food stamps, trying to keep their food stamps, or some people were experiencing reductions in their food stamps because of other things that happen over time. And, one of the things I used to often hear from clients that called with a food stamps problem, or SNAP benefits is what it's called actually here, is I don't know what I'll do without my food stamps. And so, it's something to be said about, how without that actual benefit, a lot of people didn't eat. They didn't eat at all. So it was an eye-opening experience. I mean, I remember getting my first case and my client being grateful for $28 in food stamps.
Yeah.
That was a very eye-opening experience for me, because the cool thing about food stamps is, and when you're approved for programs like that, you often are also enlisted or made part of other benefits automatically. So you might be able to get, assistance on rent, or you might be able to get assistance on your phone bill. So food stamps opens up even more stability for a lot of people. But the key takeaway is, without food stamps, a lot of people don't eat. Then on top of that, every place doesn't accept food stamps. So people often end up getting this benefit, having access to food, but it's usually the lowest quality food
Mm-hmm.
because the Delta does not have a lot of fresh markets or
No.
sprouts or anything like if any. They might have a local grocery store, mom and pop style, or they'll have just a standard Dollar General.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because I remember again in school I had to do a project just learning about feeding America. And one of the things that you get to see when you go on their website is they literally have an aerial map that show you the difference between um, basically cities and rural areas and how close they are to an actual grocery store.
Mhm.
It's estimated that 1 in 5 Black households have some form of food insecurity. So I know you kind of spoke about one part, which is that economic part, and then the other part to that, like I said, is literally, and you kind of spoke to that towards the end, is they don't have access. Like there's not a grocery store um, within 30 or 45 minutes even. The other thing that's interesting to me is even when you look in cities and stuff, because there are food deserts even in the city that we live in, right?
Mhm.
And in black neighborhoods, only about 8% of black neighborhoods have some form of grocery store that's around, compared to most white neighborhoods, about 31% of them have a store that's like within the neighborhood. So you can kind of see it again just in our everyday life. And it's not so far removed that it feels intangible, which is
Mhm.
kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, driving to court, um, and sometimes driving through the communities that my clients lived in, I would see some very heartbreaking things. From you could see a lot of the Dollar Generals are like sheds,
Yeah.
or they're in the most rural locations where it's like, what? Like, how? Why is there a Dollar General randomly on this farm? That's what it literally looks like. But um, there's nothing within miles
Yeah.
of that. It's like maybe a gas station.
I will say one thing that I appreciate about Dollar General is they have started an initiative to help with the food insecurity with, I think it's Dollar General X,
Yeah,
where they have the fresh produce, but it's,
or plus. They
or
have
yeah,
both.
plus. But even that, like some of them, the produce is
Old.
old and
Mm-hmm.
it's very small. Like the amount that you can get is not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I witnessed that firsthand. I was my husband, ChefBoyRDN, had us doing meatless Mondays, and
child, I need to bring that back. Don't you want to bring that back?
sure, sure. But I took on the challenge, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. But I remember coming back from work, and I was starving, and I was like, dang. The only thing in sight for miles was Dollar General. All I kept seeing was Dollar General, Dollar General, Dollar General. And then when I saw that they had, you remember, I took a picture of it and sent it to you. I was like, oh, there's a Dollar General Plus. I remember going in there like, I'm going to get me some fruit. I'm going to get me something like a banana or something. Those bananas look so old. I was like, what? And again, it was heartbreaking, but this is the reality. This is the Delta. This is rural southern regions. Like, this is what life is.
Yeah. So food insecurity, as we said, affect so many people every single year. If you want to know more about it or if you want to help, you can definitely go to feedingamerica.com. That's a great resource to just start to learn more about it and to get involved. The next thing we want to talk about is just health outcomes overall in the Black community. Now, one of the things that I have been blessed to do is get out in my local community. I get to talk to different sets of people. Recently, I got to talk to a group of high school students, and we talked about type 2 diabetes. We talked about obesity. I've talked to the workers union. I've talked at churches, and it's definitely a passion project of mine because becoming a counseling dietitian, one who sits down with you and talk through different diets and things, I see so much health disparity in my day to day work. And so, the sad part about it is 60% of, or Black people basically are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes versus our other counterparts. Um, I know that a lot of times, it's kind of, as we know, tied completely to our diet. And so when you don't have the access to fresh fruits and vegetables, when most of your stuff is processed, but not only processed, preserved. And when we talk about preserved, the two cheapest preservers are going to be sugar and salt. So most of those things have sugar and salt. So if you're getting a lot of things from the can, from the freezer, and not really getting fresh items, of course you get a lot of that sugar and that salt. The other thing is heart disease. Heart disease is the number one killer in America today. It takes out more people than COVID, takes out more people than accidents, car accidents, takes out more people than cancer. And heart disease usually is a condition that is developed over time when you have other diseases like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, renal disease, fatty liver disease. And a lot of these diseases happen a lot of times through our environment, our physical activity, and our diet. Um, One of the things that I like to do when I go out, and you've seen me do this demonstration where I kind of present the sodas, right? Mm-hmm. And I show the sugar. And if you see people's reaction to that, sometimes it's very visceral, like it's a real almost jaw dropping experience because they don't realize how much, I could say 63 grams of sugar all day, but when I show you a third of a cup measuring cup and say that's how much sugar you're drinking every time you drink a 20-ounce bottle, it kind of makes it a lot more real for them. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of times because of lack of education, we systematically experience health disparity. So obviously they don't have the knowledge of what to eat, but then when they have these various diseases, I know from a standpoint from you, they don't really know how to move on in life. They have health bills that they got to pay for. Some people are choosing health versus are they going to even eat? So talk a little bit about your experience with that.
I mean, for sure. I being a disability attorney, I see some of the worst case scenarios where the disability has gotten so bad or the condition itself has gotten so bad that this person is dealing with a severe diagnosis. It's no longer something that can be managed. It's interrupting their ADLs, activities of daily living, mm-hmm. to such a point, to such a degree that they can't work. Like it's not a choice. They can't. Whether it's because they have, unfortunately, fainting spells or have to do dialysis and or the amount of medications they're on are now causing additional side effects and conditions. So I've seen a lot of heart conditions, heart disease, chronic, heart issues that, came along later down the road, right? Like it's a silent killer. And, by the time you're talking to me, a lot of people have also developed mental conditions, depression, anxiety, because their health has declined so much. So I'm often, combining these impairments and explaining to a judge how these combined impairments are now to the point that this individual can't work. And so that's why they need these benefits. And, not to get like political, but because this is a Juneteenth episode, um, it is a lot more minorities that are relying upon disability benefits because of the disparities, of the systemic issues that our communities are dealing with from a health standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear people say we need to get rid of these types of programs or we need to cut back on these types of programs, it is in fact an attack on minorities.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the reasons why I haven't personally gone into like private practice or taken up another area of law, because I fully understand that this is not just, oh, like it's gonna be okay, somebody else will fight it. No, we need to fight for us. And so I take these cases very seriously, and I just understand the underlying issues and the causes so much more now, being that I've worked in these communities. Like, I see it. I see the obesity, see the BMI numbers climbing, and it really started with food. It really did. It's kind of crazy.
No, it definitely is. And that's why I do my best to educate. It's always, my success stories are not necessarily, or my biggest ones that I hold close to my heart are not necessarily the ones where people lose a bunch of weight. It's not necessarily the ones where people become some physical fitness guru, but it's really the ones where people are able to reduce medications.
Mm-hmm.
People are able to have better health outcomes overall. I just had a patient that I saw the other day who was able to get off of his blood pressure medication. And I saw somebody else who was able to get off of cholesterol medication. And it was interesting because you would realize how much people don't know about food. And a lot of times it just takes that little extra bit of time to kind of walk them through not only what is not the best for their diet, I don't want to say wrong for their diet, but also walk them through why. A lot of times we don't say why, especially in the healthcare field. It's just, don't do this, take this medicine.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm the type of person, if I want to really be successful in something, I have to know the why.
Yeah. I have a client, and I'm waiting on the decision from this case, and his story is definitely one I think that matches everything we're talking about so well. So he is, in fact, living in his car. He does not have a fridge. He does not have a means of preserving food. So all he can eat is quick food or junk food, as they say. So he lives off of chips. He lives off of Twinkies. He lives off of, beef jerky. And his health has declined significantly. And so for him, food, unfortunately, he understands is a necessity, but he's not able to even eat good food or better food, quality food, because he doesn't have the means to preserve fruits, veggies, So it's these, from a legal standpoint, I understand food, access to good food, access to stability to be definitely life sustaining stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we take these things so much for granted, but there are people who certainly are out there who just want to live. And so they're just doing what they can to do that.
I love it. I want to give you some ChefBoyRDN tips, especially if you are living with food insecurity, or if you are living in a food desert where you have to eat a lot of canned and processed foods. I want you to think about a couple things. Number one, try to limit your salt in general. Okay, look for other seasonings at the store. So herbs, spices, lemon juice is a great one, vinegar. The reason why is because we know that high sodium levels is linked to hypertension. Hypertension is linked to cardiovascular disease. So we definitely want to prevent that. So when you are getting mixed seasonings, if you can get it salt free, that's going to be better. Daily, within a day, you want to only have about 2,300 milligrams of sodium. Just as a visual, that's about the equivalent of 1 teaspoon of sodium or salt spread throughout your whole day. Okay, so that adds up pretty quickly. So keep that in mind, right?
I still can't, like,
it adds up quickly.
Not enough salt. Like,
it adds up quickly. So the other tip is, if you are getting canned items, do salt free or no salt added if you can find it. If they have it available, always get the salt free. And I tell people all the time, it may be controversial, but I'd rather you get salt free and add your own salt and kind of limit it versus salt free and not having, or versus having the sodium and then putting extra salt on top. The other thing to think about is, if you're getting vegetables, if you can get frozen vegetables, do the frozen over the canned. The canned is preserved in a salt brine, typically some type of sodium solution, versus the frozen vegetables are typically just preserved through the freezing process. The last thing I will say is, get away from the drinks. The more that you can lock in on water, the better. I'm also one of those dietitians that will tell you that if you need a sugar-free drink to get you to water, that's fine, but you want water to be 80% of your hydration goals. Some other things that I want you to think about is, some of the foods that we eat historically are really beneficial for our body. So a lot of times when we go into the space of healthcare, a lot of the foods that they recommend aren't really centered around what we historically eat culturally. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the foods that we eat culturally are very rich in vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. So let's talk about a couple. Of course, first, we got to talk about greens. Now, I love greens. I love turnips, collards, mustard, mixed. I can do kale, spinach, spinaca. I mean, I just all kind of, if it's green, I'm here for it. Now, this is, of course, traditionally slow cooked leafy vegetables. And they are packed with vitamins. So they have vitamin C, vitamin A, and vitamin K. They also have folate, calcium, potassium, magnesium, iron, fiber, and of course, antioxidants. So greens are going to be beneficial. Again, a lot of times we hear about kale, but collards are just as good. So keep that in mind. Black eyed peas. Black eyed peas are another slow cooked traditional thing. Side note,
he makes the best black eyed peas.
Yes, they are pretty good. If I do say so myself.
If you don't, like, I didn't think I liked them, and I will not share why. But I did not think that I liked black eyed peas until I had my husband's. And I mean, yeah, no, they're really good. I don't know what he does.
I make them with my heart.
They're so good.
But they are actually slow cooked. They were brought over from West Africa in the 1600s. So they have been a staple in our diet for hundreds and hundreds of years, dating all the way back to, historically when we were in Africa. And of course, we know that they have good protein in them. They have iron, magnesium, folate, and legumes in general, because they're high in fiber. They help to stabilize our blood sugar. So definitely a good one. Another one is okra. Now, as y'all already know, if you listen to the podcast, I'm obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. I can eat it anyway. I love it in gumbo. Actually, side note, gumbo is the African name for okra. I think it is. Mm-hmm. Do I have it here? It's the West African name for okra. Mm-hmm. But gumbo is actually a rich soup that that blends African, French, and Spanish cuisines.
So good. It's delicious.
Yeah,
I know that much.
And of course, it gets its name from the word okra. And okra just has so many different benefits. It's high in vitamin C, vitamin K, vitamin A, B6, magnesium, folate, and it has good antioxidants. The last thing I'll talk about is sweet potatoes.
Ooh.
We call them yams, but yam actually in Africa is something completely different.
Yes.
But sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
Now, my wife makes some amazing sweet potatoes. She actually really does. They're really good.
Oh, that was so kind.
Yes, and they actually came to North America again in the 1600s. And basically, what's interesting about them is they didn't necessarily come from Africa, but they took how they prepared the yam traditionally, and they saw that the sweet potato was pretty comparable, and so they started preparing it the same way, and it evolved over time into candy yams and sweet potato pie and sweet potato casserole and all of those good things. And sweet potatoes are so healthy for us. They're high in vitamin A, vitamin C, B5, B6, magnesium, copper, manganese, which is different from magnesium, copper, potassium, fiber, and antioxidants. So I just want you to remember that a lot of the foods we eat historically, maybe tweak it a little bit. Take some of the sugar out the yams, right? Maybe not use the ham hocks for the greens. Maybe smoked turkey.
Yeah, it's a good stuff.
Same thing with the black eyed peas. But if you just eat those foods, they're really rich and beneficial for us. So keep that in mind.
I always come on here for nasty stuff.
That's not true.
I haven't been on here for anything good.
Everything I have, pretty much.
The drink, gross. The whatever fruit, gross. I haven't had anything good.
And welcome back to Chef Boy RDN Tries It. Today, I'm so backwards. I really should have had a food. Look, this is just wrecked. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway, we have jackfruit. This is from Southeast Asia. It has nothing to do with what we were talking about today. But I picked these up and I wanted to wait to try them until I had somebody to try them with. Now, this is jackfruit chips. And I guess it kind of ties in because it is a good little alternative. It's naturally sweet, so it could be a sweet treat, and it's crispy, so it could be a chip replacement.
You should have got plantain chips.
I've done that. No, thank you. All right, so let's see how to even open these. I might need some scissors. Oh, yeah.
Is that a tear?
Dang, do I have some scissors on here? This is crazy. Who did this bag like this? There it is.
Guys, I just feel like he always has me on here for...
Oh, it smells. It smells like you'll like it.
Okay.
No, it smells because it smells kind of like a plantain chip. All right. That's what it looks like. Okay, so
it looks decent.
It smells okay.
Oh, strong.
I'm gonna tell you what it reminds me of. It kind of reminds me of mango, like a mango, dried mango.
Why is that piece so much bigger than yours?
I don't know, but I'm probably gonna eat more than one.
All right.
Let's go for it. Very familiar. What is this?
Tastes like a mango. Tastes like mango.
Tastes like a mango, but it tastes like something I've literally had.
That's jackfruit? It doesn't taste like it. Tastes like my sweet plantain chips.
pretty good. It's pretty good. All it is just jackfruit and oil, and it's crispy fried. 1 ounce is 120 calories. It's not bad at all. What would you give it? Rating. Smell, taste, flavor.
Off of smell.
10.
Also,
I'm a little starved, so can you pass that bag back over here, please? Thank you so much. God bless you.
10. Texture. 10. Taste. 10.
Okay. So see, you was I don't come on here because no. And here we are. We eating a whole good item.
It's good.
The only thing.
What's the aftertaste? Is that what you want to say?
No, it's not even that. It's the teeth feel. I don't know how many of these I can do. It has the styrofoam on the teeth kind of feeling a little bit. The taste is fine to me.
I don't know if I can do a lot of them. All right, let me readjust my score.
Ooh.
Maybe an 8 on the texture.
That one was crunchy. Almost broke it too.
It's not bad though. It's just, it's that texture thing. It gets a little something on the teeth after.
Yeah.
But it's tasty.
But it's solid. I would do it again.
Yeah.
So definitely, if y'all can find these, go out and try these. I found them at a local, like, little fresh market kind of place. Or international market, I guess I should say, kind of place. All right, that is everything for Chef Boy RDN Tries It. All right, I want to thank y'all for spending the day with me and my lovely co-host. I hope that this gave you some good information for Juneteenth. It's good to celebrate. You know, we gonna celebrate.
Celebrate Black history, baby.
Of course, but it's also good to know our history and just be informed, right? Know where we can help. And so I hope that y'all take this information, you do something good with it. Whether it is, just trying to eat healthier, which is, I didn't say this earlier, but this is one of the main reasons I started this podcast, was really because I had so many people in my office who were so misinformed. And so, I want to not only live to be old, but I want to have longevity. When we talk about longevity, it is not only to age, but it's to age with good use, still to be of good use, basically. When you think about longevity in machinery, right? Not only is it old, but it's old in working condition. And so that's what I want to be. I want to be the guy that's 90 at my great grandkids' wedding, still up and dancing. I don't necessarily want to be Will then if I can help it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but all of these things help with that. So definitely, really kind of sit with this episode.
I agree. I think that's also from my perspective of things is, volunteer at your local food pantry.
For sure.
Take time to consider others and understand the things that we take for granted, things that we have access to. Some people would want to switch places with you in a heartbeat if they could.
For sure.
And so when you know better, you do better.
Absolutely. When you know better, you do better. We're going to end on that note. So be sure to follow me at the ChefBoyRDN. You can follow me, of course, on YouTube. You can follow me anywhere you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. You can also follow me on my various social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, as well as, what's the last one? TikTok. And that's going to be ChefBoyRD.N. You got any lasting words?
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth. I'll talk to y'all next week.